I hired Melissa Torres 3 months before my wedding. Her portfolio was stunning romantic shots with perfect lighting, candid moments that looked like fine art, testimonials from dozens of happy couples. Her package was expensive at $5,000, but this was my wedding. I wanted perfection. I'm Sarah Bennett, 29, and I'd been planning this wedding for a year. My fiancé David and I had met in grad school, dated for 4 years, and finally saved enough to have the wedding we'd always dreamed of. Nothing extravagant, 120 guests, ceremony at a historic estate outside Charleston, reception under string lights in their garden. Classic, elegant, everything we'd imagined. Finding the right photographer had been crucial to me. I'm a graphic designer, so I care deeply about aesthetics and composition. I interviewed 8 photographers before finding Melissa. Her work was exactly what I wanted, light and airy, editorial quality, the kind of photos you'd see in bridal magazines. Our first meeting was at a coffee shop downtown. Melissa was 34, professionally dressed, warm, and enthusiastic. She showed me albums from recent weddings, talked about her process, asked thoughtful questions about our vision. "I don't just take photos," she said, leaning forward with genuine passion. "I tell your love story. These images will be what you show your children and grandchildren. They need to be perfect." I loved her approach. We signed a contract that day, $5,000 total, split into 2 payments, $2,500 as a deposit, $2,500 due 2 weeks before the wedding. The contract specified she'd deliver edited digital files within 8 weeks of the wedding date. I paid the deposit immediately. Melissa was booked solid for the next year, and I felt lucky to have secured her. Over the next 3 months, we had 2 more planning meetings. Melissa created a detailed timeline for the wedding day, scouted the venue, discussed must-have shots. She was professional, organized, and made me feel confident we'd get exactly what we wanted. 2 weeks before the wedding, I paid the remaining $2,500. Everything was on track. The wedding day arrived May 12th. Perfect weather. Everything went smoothly. Melissa showed up with an assistant, both carrying professional equipment. They were everywhere getting ready shots, ceremony, cocktail hour, reception. Melissa directed us expertly, positioned family members for group photos, captured candid moments I didn't even notice happening. At the end of the night, as David and I left for our hotel, Melissa hugged me. "You two were beautiful. I got incredible shots. You're going to love them." I was exhausted but thrilled. Our wedding had been perfect, and I couldn't wait to see the photos. The contract specified 8 weeks for delivery. I marked my calendar July 7th. Melissa had explained that professional editing took time, that she personally edited every image to ensure quality. Week 1 passed. Week 2. I didn't worry, I knew good work took time. Week 6. I sent a friendly email checking in. "Hi Melissa, hope you're doing well. Just excited to see our photos when they're ready." She responded within hours. "Hi Sarah. Everything is looking beautiful. Still working through editing, there were so many great shots. Should have everything to you right on schedule." Week 8 arrived. July 7th came and went. No photos. I emailed again. No response. I called her number. Straight to voicemail. Left a message. No callback. I started to worry. I checked her Instagram, she was still posting, still working other weddings. I commented on one of her posts. "Hi Melissa, trying to reach you about our photos. Can you give me an update?" She deleted my comment. That's when real panic set in. I called again. Left another voicemail. Sent another email. Nothing. David tried calling from his number. Also voicemail. 2 more weeks passed. We'd now been waiting 10 weeks, 2 weeks past her contracted delivery date. I sent a formal email referencing our contract, requesting immediate delivery of our photos. She finally responded, "Hi Sarah. I apologize for the delay. I've been dealing with some personal issues. Your photos are nearly complete. I'll have them to you within the week." Relief washed over me. A week passed. No photos. I sent another email. Another call. This time, she answered. "Sarah, hi." Her voice was cold, professional in a way that felt wrong. "I need to discuss something with you about your photos." Dud. My stomach dropped. Is something wrong? Are the photos okay? The photos are fine. Beautiful, actually. But there's been a complication with the editing process. The level of retouching your images require is significantly more extensive than I originally anticipated. I didn't understand. What do you mean? Well, there were some unforeseen issues with lighting, some complexion concerns that need detailed retouching, some composition problems I need to correct. The additional editing work required is substantial. But you said everything looked beautiful. You said you got incredible shots. I did get good raw images. But making them perfect requires considerably more work than my standard editing process covers. Okay, I said slowly. How much longer will it take? That depends on whether you want to proceed with the advanced editing package. Silence. What advanced editing package? My voice was careful. That wasn't in our contract. The contract covers standard editing. What your images need qualifies as advanced retouching. That's an additional $10,000. I actually laughed. It was so absurd I thought she had to be joking. $10,000? Melissa, we already paid you $5,000. Our contract specifies you deliver edited digital files. Standard edited files, yes. What you're requesting requires advanced work. I'm not requesting anything beyond what we agreed to. You're contractually obligated to deliver the photos. Her voice hardened. Sarah, I'm trying to work with you here. You want beautiful wedding photos, right? Photos you can be proud of? That requires the advanced package. Otherwise, I can deliver the standard edit, but I'm warning you, you won't be happy with the results. Are you saying you won't deliver our photos unless we pay you $10,000 more? I'm saying if you want professional quality images that meet your standards, there's additional cost involved. This is standard in the industry for complex editing situations. It absolutely was not standard. I knew enough about photography and contracts to know this was extortion. Melissa, our contract is clear. You deliver edited digital files within 8 weeks. It's been 12 weeks. You're in breach of contract. And you're welcome to pursue legal action if you feel that way. But I should mention that if this becomes contentious, I may not be able to prioritize your images in my editing queue. These things can take a very long time to resolve. Months, even years. Especially if files are accidentally corrupted or lost. She was threatening to delete our wedding photos. I felt sick. You can't do this. I'm not doing anything except offering you a path to get the beautiful images you deserve. Think it over. Let me know what you decide. She hung up. I sat in my living room, phone still pressed to my ear, trying to process what had just happened. Our wedding photographer was holding our photos hostage, demanding $10,000, double what we'd already paid, or she'd either give us subpar images or potentially delete everything. David came home from work and found me crying on the couch. I explained what Melissa had said. We'll sue her, he said immediately. This is clearly breach of contract. She threatened to delete our photos if we do that. David, those are our wedding memories. Your grandmother was there. She died 3 weeks after the wedding. Those photos are the last ones we have of her. His grandmother's death had made the photos even more precious. She'd been sick but rallied to attend our wedding. She'd danced with David, held my hand, and told me how happy she was to see her grandson marry someone he loved. She died peacefully in her sleep 21 days later. Those photos were irreplaceable. She's betting we won't risk losing them, David said. This is extortion. He was right. But what could we do? If we sued, she might delete everything out of spite. If we paid, we'd be rewarding her criminal behavior, and we didn't have $10,000 to spare anyway. Our wedding had already stretched our budget. I spent that night researching Melissa Torres, really digging into her background beyond her professional portfolio. I found her business licenses, her LLC registration, her past addresses. But more importantly, I found online reviews I hadn't seen before. 1-star reviews on sites I hadn't checked initially. Held our photos hostage for additional money. Demanded extra payment after the wedding or she'd delete everything. Extorted us for thousands beyond the contracted price. There were 7 reviews like this, scattered across different platforms, each from the past 3 years. each describing the exact same scam Melissa had just tried to pull on us. But there were also hundreds of 5-star reviews, couples praising her work, her professionalism, her beautiful images. I looked closer at those 5-star reviews. They were all from couples who'd paid for her most expensive packages, $8,000 to $10,000. The ones she was extorting were people who'd chosen her mid-tier packages, like us. She had a system. Book couples at a reasonable price to get them in the door. Deliver nothing for months. Then demand additional payment or threaten to withhold. Delete the photos. Some couples paid the extortion. Those couples got beautiful photos and left glowing reviews, never knowing they'd been scammed. Couples who refused or couldn't pay got either nothing or heavily degraded images. It was sophisticated. Evil, but sophisticated. I started reaching out to the couples who'd left negative reviews, found them on social media, sent careful messages explaining I was going through the same thing. 4 of them responded. Each told the same story. Melissa had held their photos hostage, demanded additional thousands, threatened deletion. 2 had paid the extortion and received their photos. 2 had refused and never received anything. She claimed the files had been corrupted. One woman, Jennifer Martinez, had tried to sue. Melissa had countersued for defamation and harassment. The legal battle cost Jennifer $12,000 and 18 months. She never got her wedding photos. She's untouchable, Jennifer told me over the phone. Her contract has just enough vague language that she can claim advanced editing wasn't included. And she's careful, no paper trail of the threats. Everything's verbal. It's your word against hers. I felt hopeless. We couldn't afford to pay $10,000. We couldn't afford a lengthy lawsuit. And we couldn't risk losing our wedding photos, especially the ones with David's grandmother. But I also couldn't let Melissa get away with this. I'm a graphic designer. I work in digital media. I understand metadata, file timestamps, digital forensics. If Melissa was doing this to multiple couples, there had to be evidence. I started documenting everything. Screenshotted all our communications, recorded phone calls, legal in my state with one-party consent. I kept detailed notes of every conversation. Then I did something risky. I told Melissa we'd pay the $10,000. I'm glad you're being reasonable, she said when I called. You'll love the final images. We need to set up a payment plan, I said. We don't have the full amount right now. Can we pay $5,000 now and $5,000 in 2 months? She agreed. I asked her to send a detailed invoice explaining what the additional $10,000 covered. She sent it via email. Advanced retouching package. Correction of lighting issues. Complexion retouching. Composition adjustments. Extended color grading. Additional editing hours required for complex wedding circumstances. It was vague, but it was in writing. She documented demanding additional payment. I didn't pay the $5,000. Instead, I took that invoice to a lawyer, a family friend who specialized in consumer fraud. His name was Robert Chen, and he reviewed everything I'd compiled. The original contract, the invoice demanding additional money, the screenshots of her deleting my Instagram comments, the recordings of her threats. This is textbook extortion, he said. The problem is proving a pattern. One case she can claim was a legitimate dispute. But if we can prove she's done this to multiple couples, I showed him the negative reviews I'd found, the conversations with other victims. Robert's eyes lit up. This could be a class action lawsuit. If we can get enough victims to join, we could potentially pursue criminal charges. Over the next 3 weeks, I became a detective. I found 23 couples who'd been extorted by Melissa over the past 4 years. Some had paid, some hadn't. Together, they'd paid her over $160,000 in additional fees beyond contracted amounts. Robert filed a class action lawsuit against Melissa Torres Photography LLC for fraud, extortion, and breach of contract. We also filed complaints with the South Carolina Attorney General's office and the Better Business Bureau. But I still didn't have our wedding photos. Melissa's response to the lawsuit was to send me an email. I'm sorry you chose this path. Unfortunately, due to the hostile legal action you've initiated, I'm unable to locate your wedding files. They appear to have been corrupted during a recent system backup failure. I'll be refunding your original deposit as a gesture of goodwill. She was going to delete our photos and claim technical failure, but I'd anticipated this. The day I told her we'd pay the $10,000, I'd also hired a digital forensics expert. Cost me $1,500 I couldn't afford, but I was desperate. The expert's name was Marcus Webb. He specialized in recovering deleted files and analyzing digital storage. I explained the situation, and he helped me file an emergency motion for a temporary restraining order and evidence preservation order. The judge granted it. Melissa was legally prohibited from deleting any files related to our wedding and was required to preserve all digital storage devices. She tried anyway. The forensic audit Marcus conducted found evidence that she'd attempted to delete our photos 3 days after receiving the preservation order. But because of the order, her systems were being monitored. The deletion attempt was logged. That deletion attempt turned our civil lawsuit into a criminal investigation. Destroying evidence covered by a court order is a crime. The South Carolina Attorney General's office got involved. They seized Melissa's computers, hard drives, and cloud storage accounts. What they found was damning. Melissa had been running this extortion scheme for 5 years. She'd extorted 87 couples for a total of over $400,000 in additional fees. She'd deleted photos for 32 couples who refused to pay. But she'd kept copies. In a hidden cloud account, she'd stored every photo she'd ever taken, including the ones she'd claimed were corrupted or lost. Insurance, maybe, or evidence she thought might protect her if anyone ever sued. Those backups proved she'd deliberately withheld photos to extort money. The criminal trial took 9 months. Melissa was charged with multiple counts of extortion, fraud, and evidence tampering. The evidence was overwhelming: the hidden backups, the pattern across dozens of victims, the attempted deletion after the preservation order. She pleaded guilty as part of a deal. 3 years in prison, 5 years probation, restitution to all victims, and permanent revocation of her business license. Every couple who'd been extorted received their photos, including us. I got our wedding photos on a hard drive delivered by Marcus Webb. 10,000 images, beautifully edited, exactly what we'd paid for originally. The photos of David's grandmother dancing, smiling, holding our hands, they were perfect. Irreplaceable. I cried when I saw them. Relief. Anger. Grief for the stress we'd endured. Gratitude that we'd gotten them back. The class action lawsuit was settled. Melissa's insurance covered most of the restitution. Each victim received their original payment back, plus damages. David and I got back our $5,000 plus another $8,000 in compensatory damages. But the money wasn't the point. The point was stopping her from doing this to anyone else. Melissa Torres is currently serving her sentence at a minimum security facility in South Carolina. She'll be released in 2 years with good behavior. Her photography business is permanently closed. Her professional reputation is destroyed. The other victims and I created a website, weddingvendorscams.org. It documents Melissa's case and provides resources for couples dealing with vendor fraud. We share red flags, legal strategies, and support for people going through similar situations. Because Melissa wasn't unique, since creating the site, we've been contacted by over 200 couples who've experienced vendor extortion: photographers, videographers, caterers, planners, people who took deposits and disappeared, or delivered subpar work and demanded more money, or held final products hostage for additional payment. The wedding industry is largely unregulated. Vendors can operate with minimal licensing, and couples often don't realize they've been scammed until it's too late to do anything about it. We're working on changing that, advocating for stronger consumer protections, better vendor licensing requirements, clearer contract standards. David and I celebrated our first anniversary last month. We printed a dozen photos from our wedding, including a beautiful one of David dancing with his grandmother, and hung them throughout our apartment. Every time I see those photos, I think about how close we came to losing them. How Melissa almost got away with holding our memories hostage. How many couples paid her extortion just to get their wedding photos back. But I also think about the 87 couples who got their photos back. The criminal conviction that means Melissa can't do this to anyone else. The website that's helping hundreds of couples avoid similar scams. Our wedding photos are beautiful. But the most important thing isn't the images themselves, it's that we fought back and won. That we refused to let someone steal our memories and get away with it. If a vendor ever holds your wedding photos, videos, or any service hostage for additional payment beyond your contract, don't pay. Document everything. Record conversations if legal in your state. Find other victims. Get a lawyer. File complaints with consumer protection agencies. Extortion is a crime, even when it's dressed up as a business dispute. And wedding memories are priceless. But they're not worth rewarding criminals. Fight back. Get help. Don't let vendors like Melissa Torres get away with destroying the most important day of your life. We got our photos. We got justice. And we made sure she can never do this to anyone else. That's worth more than any wedding picture.